Welcome to KBS World Radio. You're now tuned in to Korea 24's Korea Book Club, where we explore the world of Korean literature. This is our weekend replay edition, playing back our book segment from Wednesday's show. We hope you enjoy it. I'm your host, Kwon Jang-woo. Joining us now in the studio with another recommendation for us is our literary critic, Barry Welsh. Barry, hello, it's great to see you.
Yes, hello, it's great to be back.
Okay, so what do you have for us this week?
So this week we are reviewing a celebrated novel called Three Generations. The Korean title is Samdae, and the writer is Yom Sang-seop, and the translator is Yu Young-nan. Yom was born in 1897 and died in 1963. He was a journalist, activist, and novelist who grew up during the Japanese colonization of South Korea. Yom actually went to school in Japan, and he was there when the March 1st independence movement gathered pace in 1919, and he organised a protest to support the movement while he was still in Japan, and this resulted in his imprisonment. And when he was released, he returned to Korea. He couldn't continue his education in Japan. He had to come back to Korea, and so he became a journalist before he debuted as a fiction writer in 1921. And as he was writing during this period, the Japanese colonial period, he's often referred to as a writer of the period of dissatisfaction. And Three Generations is seen as a landmark work of this period. It was originally serialized in the Chosun Ilbo newspaper in 1931 and was not actually published in book form until 1948. The English translation was published in 2005. And literary critic Han Gi says that Three Generations is among the best in Korean literature. It's no exaggeration to say that the history of early modern Korean literature would have been bleak without him. It's a fascinating story about the titular three generations of one family, the Cho family, living together in one house at a time of great social upheaval and transition. The story takes place in 1930 and actually covers only a short period of time, less than a year or roughly a year, in the family's life as they clash over how their lives are changing.
Right, so we have a certified classic this week then. So just to give a bit more historical context as well, Korea had been under Japan's colonial rule for 21 years when the Three Generations was first serialized. So 1931, that was also a time when Japan was reinforcing its colonial policy. And so the only place Korean writers could publish significant works at the time was serialized stories in Korean newspapers like this. So can you tell us more then? So what story did Yum want to tell the readers of the Chosun Ilbo newspaper in 1931 as the country struggled with Japanese rule?
Right, yeah. So as you say, a certified classic, definitely. You might remember we reviewed another classic novel, Kim Nam-chon's Scenes from the Enlightenment, several months ago. That novel too was about the intergenerational conflict during the Enlightenment period in Korea, as modernity and Christian and Western influences were challenging or beginning to challenge older Korean traditions. And we can see something very similar happening in Three Generations, except the action takes place in the city instead of the rural countryside setting. So Yom introduces us to an average middle-class or Hyungin family with the three generations living under one roof. Each generation represents a different period and different influences and how they view the world and Korean society and cultural life. So the head of the family is the wealthy grandfather whose outlook is very much the traditionalist and Confucianist, and he represents the Chosun dynasty era. The next generation is his son, Cho Sang-hoon, and his son is a Christian who represents this the Enlightenment period and the growing influence of the West and Christianity. And then this sort of central clash between Christianity and Confucianism is a core element of the story. And then finally we have the younger generation who grew up under the Japanese colonial rule, and this is represented by Cho Dok-gi and several of his friends. And Cho Dok-gi and his friends are kind of the main characters. The story mostly follows them. And the story takes place against the background of the Japanese occupation, but the focus is on the domestic sphere of the family. The family disputes, the romantic desires of the characters, and not the broader sweep of history. Another literary critic, Kim Chi-soo, writes, Three Generations effectively reproduces a society in the throes of drastic change through the most concrete unit of society, a middle-class family.
Right, so it's a sort of representation then of Korean society at the time, reflected in this family, in these three generations. I guess it's a very interesting and great tool to perhaps reflect that society. So what themes and social commentary then does Yum offer readers through this work?
Right, yeah, so absolutely. So through the experiences of the Cho family, the reader witnesses the transformation of Korea from a traditional Confucian society to a more modernized one, influenced by Western ideals. So Yum, weaves a very complex tapestry of issues throughout the novel. So we've got the struggle between tradition and modernity. That's a central theme. We also have characters trying to navigate this clash between Confucian values and the changing social norms of the period. Yom also goes into the intricate dynamics of family relationships between these three generations. So he explores there's tensions, there's sacrifices that arise across the generations. And then additionally, we also have themes of love, loss, ambition, the pursuit of happiness. And these all allow readers to connect with the characters on a very emotional level. Three Generations serves as a microcosm of Korean history during a period of profound societal change. Yom provides readers with a detailed and intimate look at the political and cultural landscape of early 20th century Korea. The novel highlights the impact of Japanese colonialism on Korean society and also depicts the suppression of Korean identity and the erosion of traditional values. It also explores the emergence of new social classes as well as the struggle for education and social mobility.
Right, fascinating stuff. What about Yum's writing style? Because Korean literary writing, it's changed immensely since the 1930s,
Right,
perhaps more so than in Western literature, and sometimes works that old can feel quite alien. I mean, even the copy that you've brought with us is quite a dusty old copy. Will contemporary readers find Yum's writing compelling, do you think?
Right, so while this is a classic novel and it's absolutely an important one, it can be a little dry to read in places. There's a couple of issues here. So I'm not sure if the translation is lacking. I don't want to criticize Yu Young-nan that did a wonderful job bringing this novel into English, but maybe there's something with the serialized nature of the story is a little bit of a problem. At times it does drag and the writing does sometimes feel a little awkward. So often Yom will just state what a character is thinking or how the reader should feel about a particular character at a certain moment. And for those who don't understand the family dynamics of Korean society at the time, some elements might be a little confusing perhaps, but nevertheless it remains an engaging story, and in a way it's almost like a soap opera in the sort of serialized nature, or even perhaps a K-drama if you like. And if you approach it from this perspective, aware of its serialized nature, then it might be more enjoyable.
I see. So some notes there to keep in mind. Okay. So what are your final thoughts? So what makes Three Generations a compelling work for readers even in 2023?
Right, so through this insightful commentary, Yom sheds light on the complexities of Korean society during this very transformative era. He captures the hopes, the dreams, the disappointments of the Korean people through this family, while at the same time also exposing the harsh realities of a nation in transition, just how difficult that period was for people. So Three Generations is in this sense a remarkable work. It delves deep into these issues of Korean society at the time during this key period in history. We have vivid characters, there's an intricate plot, there's poignant themes, and there's a captivating exploration of the struggle between tradition and modernity, family dynamics, and impact of historical events on individual lives. And so for all those reasons, Yom Sang-seop, Three Generations is a timeless and essential read for anyone interested in Korean literature or the socio-cultural history of Korea at the time.
Right, so it sounds like essential reading, really, especially for its historical and literary importance. It's called Three Generations by Yom Sang-seop. That's all for this week's Korea Book Club, Barry. Thank you as always, and we'll see you again soon.
Okay, take care.
And that's all for this week's Korea Book Club. You can check out more of the works we discussed on our website at world.kbs.co.kr. Join us again next week.